Hello and welcome to the spiritual workshop. My name is Surjo Bhattacharjee, and this is another untold story from the Mahabharata. In truth, this is actually quite a told story. This is a very popular story from Indian and Hindu mythology. But here in the Mahabharata is one of the first detailed renditions, and the story changes over time. So, by knowing what the story is here, we can appreciate and enjoy the changes that have occurred in the retelling of the story over the last 2,500 years. And the story, of course, is that of the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean. I shall be referring to the text, the translation of the Mahabharata by Kisari Mohan Ganguly. This translation was done in 1896. I will not be reading line for line, I will be using it as a framework to tell you the version of the story. Why did the gods churn the ocean for nectar? So Sauti said that there was a mountain named Meru. Now this mountain was a tremendous mountain, Mount Meru, and it was the haunt of apsaras and gandharvas and gods, and it's not approachable by men, especially men who have sinned a lot. So these are the qualities of the mountain. There's a lot of beasts of prey. It has divine life-giving herbs. It's very tall. Normal people can't even think of climbing the mountain. It has trees and streams, and it is melodious because there's so many choirs singing over it. It's beautiful. So the celestials were sitting on its peak, and they had practiced a lot of penance. Why were they doing all these penances? Why were they practicing sadhana? They were doing it for the purpose of procuring Amrit. So they had practiced all these penances, and because of that, and seeing all this, Narayan said to Brahma that churn the ocean with the gods and the asuras. When you do so, Amrit will be obtained, and also all drugs and gems. By drugs, it means medicines. Amrit again. So churn the ocean, you will discover Amrit. Okay, so then there is a mountain called Mandar. Mandar is the best of mountains. It again has a lot of intertwining herbs, countless birds, beasts of prey, the gods, the apsaras, the kinnars visit this place. It rises to a height of 11,000 yojans, and it descends downwards as much, like the root of the mountain. So the gods wanted to tear Mount Mandar and use it as the churning rod by which they churn the ocean. But they failed to do so. They couldn't uproot the mountain. So they approached Vishnu and Brahma, and they said, please help us so that we can use Mount Mandar to churn the ocean. Vishnu and Brahma said, sure, we will help you. And they gave the task to Anant, that is the prince of snakes. So Anant, having been given this task, he tore the mountain with the woods and the people in the woods, everything. He just tore the mountain up. The gods came to the shore of the ocean with Anant, and they addressed the ocean. They said, we are going to churn you now for obtaining Amrit, nectar. And the ocean said, Tathastu, so be it, as I shall not go without share of it. And I will be able to bear this massive movement that this mountain will do. Then the gods went to the king of the tortoises and said, O tortoise king, you will have to hold the mountain on your back. So now no name is mentioned, but we all know what this is. This is the Kurma avatar of Lord Vishnu. It's not mentioned here. These things happen later. How much later? 1500 years or so later, when the story is retold, it keeps getting. So right now there's no mention of Vishnu avatar. Right now it's just Tortoise King. So the Tortoise King agrees, and Indra places the mountain on the back of the Tortoise King. So they made Mandar the staff. They've made Vasuki, the king of the snakes, the cord by which they will churn. The Asurs are holding one side, the gods are holding the other side. So the Asurs held Vasuki by the hood and the gods held him by the tail. And who was on the side of the gods? The Anant, as in Vasuki, was on the side of the gods. So he would, at intervals, he would raise the snake's hood, he would lower the snake's hood. And because Vasuki was being stretched by the gods and the Asurs, black vapors with flames were issuing from his mouth. These then turned into clouds, clouds charged with lightning. And the lightning issued and they poured showers. There was thunder and lightning and then rains. And that refreshed the tired gods. And because there's a mountain with all woods and flowers, the flowers are also falling all over and they are also falling on the gods. They are refreshing the gods. And then while this churning is going on from the depths of the ocean, there's a huge noise, big roar. What is happening was all these amazing, diverse aquatic animals in the ocean are being killed by this prodigious movement because of this churning. Large trees are falling from the mountain Mandar and they're falling into the water. The friction of the trees and it's producing fires. The fires are killing lions and elephants on the mountain. Indra sees this and he produces showers so that the fires are stopped and more animals are not getting hurt. But this is a tremendous process. A lot of animals are being killed, as it is said here. After the churning has gone on for some time, so many wonderful herbs and trees on Mount Mandar, but they are having friction upon them. So whatever sap, gum that is there, they are all falling into the water. But a lot of these are very medicinal and they are brilliant, and they are reviving. The gods are drinking the water with the gum and the sap and they are feeling better and they are getting revived. The water is getting more and more agitated, and with the properties of Amrit, that all these things that are dropping in, but not the real Amrit, properties of Amrit that are dropping in, and it's almost becoming like ghee because so many things have dropped into it, into the water of the ocean. But nectar did not appear even then, and the gods became tired. So they go to Brahma and they say, we don't have any strength left. And we can't do anything if Narayan doesn't help us. So Brahma goes to Narayan and says, please give the gods the strength to churn. So Narayan says, okay, I will give you sufficient strength. You put the mountain in position again, you churn. So now they started churning. Now more things started emerging from the mountain. The moon of 1,000 rays, Lakshmi dressed in white, then Som as in Somras, then the white steed Uchchashraivas of 3 heads that was given to the Lord Bali, then the celestial gem Kaustubh, which is the most valuable gem in the whole world, which graces the breast of Narayan, which Vishnu took. Then Lakshmi, Som and the steed Uchchashraivas, fleet as the mind, all came before the gods. Then arose the divine Dhanvantari herself with the white vessel of nectar in his hand. And seeing him, the Asurs set up a loud cry saying, it be ours. So now Dhanvantari has uh, come up, and he's brought the nectar in his hands. Then at length rose the elephant Airavat, and Airavat, of course, was then claimed by Indra, because Indra's Vahan is an elephant and it's Airavat. While the churning is going on, finally the poison Kalakut appears. It is engulfing the earth with flame and fire. It's such a massive poison. And Shiva was then asked by Brahma, could you please do something about this? So Shiva swallowed that poison. Maheshwar held it in his throat, and as a result he is called Neelkant, because the poison changed the color of his throat. Seeing all these wonderful things, the Asuras were thrown into despair, and what they did was they immediately got ready to fight. They knew something is going to happen. Because they wanted all these things. They wanted Lakshmi, they wanted the Amrit, they wanted all these things. So now they're ready to fight. Then Narayan called his bewitching Maya to his aid, and assuming the form of a beautiful, enticing female, she spoke to the Danavas and the Daityas. And the Danavas and the Daityas, seeing her unbelievable beauty, they were bewitched. And what they did was they gave the Amrit in the hands of this beautiful lady. Now again, no names are mentioned here, but of course we now know over a period of time that this beautiful lady is the Mohini avatar of Lord Vishnu. But here no names are mentioned, just Maya and bewitching form, etc. This was written around 500 BC. And the Mohini avatar, the version with Mohini avatar, where it's written as Mohini avatar, came around 1000 AD. So there's 1500 years gap. Then the Daityas and Danavas, seeing this trickery, they basically prepared themselves for war. And what happened was, while they're preparing themselves for war, and they're like, okay, but then they were enticed by Mohini. So then they're like, okay, fine. She'll give, because she said, I'll give it to you after I give it to the gods. Now the gods are all lined up. They're just drinking the Amrit one after the other. But there was a Danav called Rahu, who was not enticed, and who went, disguised himself as a god, and sat in the line of drinking Amrit. And the moment the Amrit touched his, like he drank it, and by the time it came here, Surya Dev and Somdev, as in the sun and the moon, they recognized, and they said, this is not a god, this is a Danav. And they told the other gods. Narayan immediately showed up and cut his head off with the Sudarshan Chakra. Without permission, he cut his head off. And so the huge head of this Danav, cut off by the discus, and resembling like a mountain peak, it uttered great vicious cries. And then the body of the Danav, huge Danav, it fell and it made the earth tremble. But from here came Rahu, the head, and Ketu, the headless body, and their enmity with the sun and the moon. They say that when there's a solar or lunar eclipse, that is Rahu eating the sun and Ketu eating the moon. And then Narayan quit his enchanting female form, and the fighting started. On both sides, a lot of fighting and violence, but it's Narayan we're talking about. So the Asuras are facing a lot of defeat and disaster. You can hear great cries everywhere, and thousands of warriors are being struck down. And then not only Narayan, but Nar and Narayan entered the field. And Narayan, seeing Nar's celestial bow, then he calls upon the Sudarshan Chakra. And now it's in the hands of the gods. It is basically like the end of a yug, the sort of destruction that is happening. And as a result of Nar and Narayan entering the field, the Devs won. And after having gained the victory, the gods offered due respect to Mount Mandar and placed him again on his own base. And the gods, now with their Amrit, they made the heavens resound with their shouts and went to their own abodes. They rejoiced greatly, and Indra and all the other deities gave the vessel of Amrit to Narayan for safekeeping. This was the story of the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean, as written in the Adi Parv of the Mahabharata. You can see the subtle differences. There are no names here. There's no Kurma avatar, there's no Mohini avatar. Those names have not been given yet, because even mythology changes over time. Names are added, the story transforms. But this is one of the earliest versions that is out there of the churning of the ocean. It's a wonderful story, not an untold one, but a beautiful one. I hope that you all enjoyed this. I can't wait to see you in the next video.